How's it going, guys? We're going to give a quick decklist video of the Lightsworn Ruler deck that you guys might have seen in the video. I'll link it in the description, and I'll probably put an annotation up for you guys to check it out. We played an entire match with this deck against a Traptrix-Hand Artifacts deck. It was a pretty interesting duel, and we're just going to run down this deck list, and then I'll also give you guys a deck list of the Traptrix deck that I went up against. We're going to start off with 3 Judgment Dragon. It's pretty obligatory in a deck like this. You can sack the field and nuke it to try and potentially OTK or even just gain card advantage. Then we're going to run each of the Dragon Rulers. The first is Blaster. He has the most attack out of the 4, so he's always good to keep in. 2 Diabolos, just because he's also a level 7 to make your rank 7s with, and he's semi-easy to spam in the deck. And his effect is pretty decent. It's good setup for, you know, dropping JD if you need to deal with some back row. Then the rest of the Dragon Rulers, Tidal, Tempest, and Redox. The good thing about Tempest in this deck is I'm running Debris Dragon, so it is searchable with Tempest if I need to sort of go into Black Rose or anything like that. And Redox, I'm also running the Card Troopers and Maxi in the main deck, so there's a little bit extra Earth monsters to feed Redox if you need to keep specialing him out. He also has a really big butt, so that helps with sort of OTK based decks like Yurgia and things like that, and those kind of matchups. Going into the Lightsworns, we're playing 1 Wolf. We're going to draw this every game, and we're not going to be able to get rid of it, but it's a different name, and he's pretty decent. 1 Garroth, just because it is a potential draw power which the deck lacks outside of Recharge, and he's got a decent attack at 1850. We're also going to run 1 of the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. If you guys don't know what Collapse Serpent does, he can banish a light to special, so he's good for some rank 4 spam if you need to set up a Laval Chain or you know, any kind of rank 4 that you need to go into. And also he's especially good whenever you're able to banish the Wyverns for him. The next Lightsworn is Jane. I'm only running him at 1. I don't think that he's that great since he only mills 2 at the end phase. 2 Lila for back row destruction, 1 Aaron for Yurgia and the hands if they try and set against you. Her effect is pretty decent against some things, and she does mill 3 at the end phase, so it's a good Lightsworn to have. 3 of the Wyvern just to recruit the JD and use with the Dragon Rulers to get some consistency into the deck. 1 Honest because the majority of the deck is light. 1 Debris Dragon. The only targets in the deck are Card Trooper and Maxi. I'm currently not running Orient Dragon with Maxi. I don't think that it's that relevant right now, and I just couldn't find room in the extra deck for it. 3 Lumina. Her effect is really good, and it gives some sort of spam until we get the new stuff. 3 Curry Bandit. This is the newest addition to the deck. I think Curry Bandit's great in the deck. You don't run many spells traps, so you're more than likely going to get 4 or even 5 monsters on Curry Bandit's effect, which is a massive amount of milling for Lightsworns. It's very good for them. 3 Necrogardna, just because this is a very aggressive deck and there's not really a whole lot of defense to it. Necrogardna most of the time is going to save you from OTKs or even just monsters that you can't really get over for a turn until you have your setup in the grave. 2 Card Troopers. Card Trooper's really good in this deck. It mills 3 like most of the other Lightsworns, and you get the extra draw, and it's an Earth for Redox, also a target for Debris Dragon. And even though Debris Dragon negates the Card Trooper's effect, you can still mill 3 when you bring the Card Trooper back, so you get a nice mill 3 before you Black Rose, and I don't think that Card Trooper will ever be taken out of the deck, especially as long as Debris is in. 2 Maxi, just because Madolche is part of the meta right now, and also the hands. I think that Maxi is just good in this deck, and it's also an Earth, so it's good fodder for Redox if you just mill it. And then for the last monster, Raikou. I'm only running 1 because he's pretty slow, but his effect is still great. Most of the time I'm just using this to deal with back row so that I can try to get big monsters on board and get them to stay there. There's only 4 spells in the main deck, 3 Solar Recharge. It's one of the best cards in the deck. It's something that if I open up with, it's usually going to be a good game. And same with Charge of the Light Brigade. It's you know, the only recruiting card that we have, and I think that there's a specific reason that it's at 1. But that's our spells. Then 2 Breakthrough Skill. I didn't like Skill Prisoner as much. I don't think it's as versatile as Breakthrough Skill, but you know, at least Breakthrough Skill has that added option of being able to be used from the grave. I think that it isn't relevant all the time, but the times that it is relevant, it helps out a whole lot. And I'm also main decking 2 Royal Decrees. This is mostly just because I've always liked Royal Decree in the deck since it runs such a low trap count, and you know, also Breakthrough Skill gets around Royal Decree if you're using it from the grave. And you know, one of the most popular decks in the past week or so has been Traptrix-Hand artifacts, like in the video that I'm gonna link you guys to. And as you'll see in game 3, it comes in handy. Onto the extra deck, our synchros are Star Eater, because you can go into it with Debris Dragon and one of the Dragon Rulers. He's a big body, he can usually push for some good damage, and since you know, there's a lot of sort of summon negation going around, it's nice that they can't respond to his summon. Black Rose Dragon, just because you can go into it with 1 card. It's nuke the field to set up for your JDs or your Dragon Rulers or whatever else, and it's also a fire type dragon, which is good for Redox and any of the other Dragon Rulers. Only 1 rank 8, just Felgrand. I decided against Heliopolis. There was just too many things that I wanted to try and get in here, and I think that as far as the rank 8s, if you're only going to run 1, Felgrand's the one to run. 3 ranked 7s, the first one's Master of Blades. Master of Blades is really, really good against Firehand and you know, Deep Prison, pretty much anything that's sort of stun oriented that targets Master of Blades is really good against, and he has decently high attack at 27. Also running Draxek for obvious reasons. Draxek's an amazing card, and most of the time I'm using it to get around side deck cards like Skill Drain, or just to blow up the field and have something that's going to last through a JD nuke. And then number 11 Big Eye, just because Change of Heart is really good, and especially when it's permanent. Then for the rank 4s, Ragnazero. I think Ragnazero is one of my favorite new cards out of Primal. There's really not much that Madolche can do against this. They can't trap stun it, and they really can't do their sort of OTK with it, because you just wait for the Tiramisu to come out and then you pop it and their turn is pretty much over. And it's also good against Bujins, because most of the time they have a tanky in the back row and things like that. 101, just because it's 101, it's amazing. Relinquished. I'm using Starliege Paladinimo because of it being primarily a light deck. Paladinimo's effect is really good just for the extra damage, the extra draw when it gets destroyed, and sometimes I'll just even negate a monster's effect and leave that monster there if I know that it's not going to be problematic without an effect. Excite and Knight, just self-explanatory again, nuke the field. Lava Chain's amazing in this deck because you can drop the Wyverns, you can drop the Wolf to get an extra monster on board. Emerald's amazing because you're going to mill all 3 of your JDs, and you need to get those back into the deck so that you can sack with them. Dweller, not going to come out, at least for this format, as long as hands and artifacts are around. Alucard, again, just to set up for your OTK, you got to deal with those set back row. And Leviair, just because you can sort of go off sometimes with Leviair bringing back your Wyverns after you banish them. And for the side deck, I'm running 2 Crows, Artifacts, and Madolche, 2 Scarecrows, primarily for Madolche, 2 Veilers, again, primarily for Madolche or anything else that relies heavily on effects, 3 MST, just since I'm not maining any, 3 Ixion Core for Madolche, Constellars, any Evil Swarm. This deck really has a tough matchup against Evil Swarm, and I think that Encore is just in general a great card. I'm citing the 3rd Decree in case I go up against the Trap Trick deck, or even something silly like Chain Burn, anything that's running a high trap count, and 2 Debunks again for the hand and the artifacts that are being teched into anything and everything right now. So that's it for this deck. We're going to give you a deck list here in just a moment for the Traptrix-Hand artifacts that I played against in those videos. I'll leave an annotation for you guys to check those out and link it in the description. Have a good day.